Hey everyone, welcome to Unwell and Unfiltered, the podcast where we talk about mental health, spill some tea, and remind you that it's okay not to be okay. I'm Arthi,
And I'm Via.
fellow humans navigating this wild thing we call life.
We think it's not only important but essential to talk about mental health and shed light on resources that could be helpful for people going through tough situations. So, whether you're thriving, surviving, or somewhere in between, you're in the right place. We're all about keeping it real and unfiltered.
So, buckle up and let's get into it. Today's topic is helping someone through a rough time. Support looks different for everyone. You're not expected to know everything. It doesn't mean solving, it means staying.
Sometimes people already know what they need to do and just want to vent their frustrations. And understanding how to support someone is incredibly important when supporting someone so you don't step on their toes or further frustrating them, pushing them deeper into that hole that they're already in. So, to kick things off, how do you show someone who is going through a hard time that you're really listening and want to be there for them?
So, first, I think it's really important to listen without necessarily trying to fix the issue too soon. I know it can be tempting because you don't want your loved one to be in this situation, but they probably already know what they need to do, and that's probably not the reason that they're reaching out to you, unless they like tell you specifically that they want your advice or something like that. But otherwise, most of the time, people, when they reach out to you, they're reaching out for emotional support and like validation. And when you fix the issue too soon, it can feel a little dismissive.
Oh yeah, 100%. I know that if I'm venting my frustrations and people are throwing like solutions at me, I'm probably going to be like, "All right, I guess you just don't want to listen to me and want to
Yeah.
kind of like clear the notification."
Mhm.
Yeah. So another thing I feel like really helps people is, you want to show them that you resonate with how they're feeling. So saying things like, that sounds tough. You don't have to go through this alone. Or maybe even like, I'd love to hear more about that if you're willing to talk about it. So that way it doesn't put too much pressure on them and the ball's kind of like in their court. But basically you just want to show people that you're present with them, that you're sitting with them in their emotional state and kind of walking with them, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that like sharing space with somebody else, especially when they're going through such a hard time, like it means a lot because it's an awkward space to be in, and you're choosing
Mhm.
to be in that space with them. And but it doesn't necessarily like always have to be awkward. I think following up and asking expansive questions, starting with a what or a how, can be really important too, and can make it like less awkward to talk to your loved ones in this
Oh
situation.
yeah, definitely. And I think a great question to also ask is basically saying like, how heavy has it been feeling and how have you been dealing with that? So this question gives you an idea of where they're at emotionally, and it helps them further open up by explaining the depth of how hard things have been for them.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question to kind of like ask like, hey, like where are you really lately? Like, how have things been feeling for you really, you know? But instead of like saying it like that, I feel like it kind of is a little bit more specific. Like how heavy has it been and like what are you doing about that? And like if they're not doing anything, then like, you know, then you can kind of help them in that way. I think
Mhm.
another good question is, if, like, someone's going through something regarding, like, other people in their life, a good question could be, "What do you wish that that person understood about what you're going through?" It's a good question that could help them process the situation.
I think that's a great question. And honestly, it's a question that people should be asking a little bit more just so we can kind of understand how to support each other or like just like so people could understand where like how to support someone. And I another great question to follow up with that is what's something I could do that might feel supportive, even if it is just being quiet together. You want to show them that you want to be there and that you don't have expectations for their, I guess, emotional well-being, like how they show up and how they put themselves together. You just want to let them know that you want to be there and support them in ways that they need it, right?
Yeah, I think that, like, it can be scary asking for that support because, like, sometimes, sometimes people don't know what that support looks like, and sometimes, like, even if they know what that support looks like, they're worried about maybe being too much, or they're worried that, like, "Oh, maybe this isn't, like, the norm," and, like, asking this question of, like, "What can I do to
Mhm.
support you?" Kinda shows that, like, you're okay with whatever they need, and I think that's really
Yeah, like
important.
literally no pressure.
Another Yeah, another good question is, how has this been affecting your day-to-day life? How do you feel when you wake up lately and when you go to sleep? And I think that these questions are good to see if there's any patterns going on, and, like, it can also go hand in hand with, like, the question that was, how heavy has
Mhm.
this been feeling? Because it shows how deeply this is impacting their life. Um,
Yeah. Like
yeah.
when I know, like when I'm going through an overwhelming time, I don't think people really ask like how it's been impacting me. They just kind of either want to solve it right away or they just kind of reflect it back to me. But I think this follow-up question would definitely help me feel heard at least. And I along with that, another great question, or let's say a real question, could be how do you feel sharing what you're going through with me? Because sometimes people don't feel comfortable sharing how they're feeling with everyone, and opening up already can be scary, especially like if you're already feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling cornered, you're feeling trapped, you don't want to make it worse, or you don't want to feel stupid. So that's a great question to ask. And be prepared for maybe not the most enthusiastic response because it can be scary and also anxiety inducing. Also, it can be draining, but they're sharing for a reason because you matter to them and they trust you.
100%. I think that, like, even though it's hard opening up and it can bring up all those, emotions, I think that it's important, and it's important to have people that are there for you, that are willing to, listen to you. I think one last question that we have that can, like, help your loved one open up a little more is, how do you know when you're starting to feel worse or a little better? It, helps to figure out what their warning signs are and what their coping skills could be. I also wanna stress that in order to get vulnerability, we need to risk being vulnerable, but also not oversharing. Maybe, like, testing the waters with the person. Um, Basically, what I mean to say is, like, it's okay to bring up your experience as a way to show that you understand and that, like, the person you're talking to, that, like, they're not alone, but what's not okay is comparing your pain to their pain.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think like a lot of people share their own pain and experiences in a way to connect, but sometimes that can also like overpower the conversation and it makes the person you're supporting feel like you're just talking about yourself. You're just making this all about you and it can also make them feel unheard or
Yeah,
unseen. Mhm.
100%. I think, like, as long as you like, if you're using it with the intention of, like, connecting, I think that that's okay as long as you bring it back to that person, like, bring it back to your loved one that you're trying to be there for.
That's a great idea actually. Like I always like try to stay away from like talking about my own pain or like my own
Mhm.
experiences because I'm afraid like what if I say so much and I make them feel like their pain isn't like
Like, minimizing their pain, you mean?
yeah, like minimizing their pain or making it feel like they like because I had a similar situation, they may feel like, "Oh, I probably had it worse, so they shouldn't." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they might feel
Yeah.
like their pain isn't as important. So bringing it back to them is a great idea. I didn't even think about that.
Because then it helps them feel like I feel like it could help them feel a little less alone in their situation, you know? Like, bringing it back to them, then it's like, "Yeah, like, you went through it too, and, like, you know, you can be there for me."
Yeah, that's a great idea. But I think like once, you bring it back to them and, finish like sharing and talking and conversing, supporting, another great thing to do would be to follow up with them and check in on them. Because most of the time, I feel like many people, they go through a lot and sometimes they don't handle things well, but people always assume that they handle things well. But the reality is the person never really checked in on them or followed up with them to even see where they're at emotionally, you know?
Yeah. So, speaking of, following up with them and checking in on them, how would you have a conversation with someone and get them to open up, even if, let's say, like, it's uncomfortable for you?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question because like starting that conversation with someone, it's like you don't want to make it awkward and you don't want to make it like feel forced either. So I think like the first few things that come to mind is like saying things like, I'm here for you. Like, no rush, give some space. I know it can be hard to talk about like our feelings and experiences, especially if your loved one isn't used to it. So, it definitely can take some time to think about like how you're saying it, how you're approaching it, and kind of how you're going about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think another important thing to think about is like when they're talking to you, thinking about like how they must be feeling in that moment and like kind of reflecting those feelings back to them just so that like they know that
Mhm.
like you do get it. Saying things like, that must cause you to feel so trapped, or like that's got to be so brutal, or it must be really hard to go through all this, or it's not easy feeling so hopeless all the time, you know? Reflecting those feelings back to them shows that, like, you're listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, like attentiveness. I think that's the word for it. It shows that you're attentive and you're kind of be I you're there with them. You're
Exactly.
sitting right there. Yeah, and they're not alone. Also, I want to add, I think being curious is also as important as reflecting feelings. You want to kind of like going back to those questions show that you're curious, that you are there with them, being present with them too.
And, like, you want to know.
Hmm.
Because I feel like people sometimes shy away from, like, opening up or giving details because they're like, "Oh, like, I don't wanna bore you with the details." But, no, like, I wanna know, actually.
I think I can like relate to that a lot just because I kind of hold back sometimes, like literally because I don't want to bore people with the details, or maybe like I'm just having a hard time finding the words. And when the other person I'm talking to is curious about what I'm saying, it helps me out so much. Like I feel like I'm able to like really put everything on the table and we could sort through everything together. Like I feel like I'm not walking alone in this situation.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if you're having this conversation and, like, you're feeling uncomfortable, I think that, like, something really important that you can do is, like, kind of own it, you know? Like, you can say that, like, maybe you're not, like, super great at these kinds of things, but you want to know more and you wanna be there for your friend. That way it kinda normalizes the whole experience of, like, "Hey, like, I don't know what I'm doing," or, like, maybe, like, you've never been in this kind of situation before or dealt with these kinds of feelings before with, like, someone in your life, but, like, that doesn't mean that you don't want to, like, you want to be there for them still.
Yeah, I definitely love that. I am huge on like communicating boundaries. Well, at least I'm trying to. Like I'm getting into the flow of it. But
Mhm.
communicating what you're like where you are puts like it helps the person you're supporting understand like what to expect from you. So they don't like feel worse if you say the wrong thing. Like you're being upfront. You're like, I really don't do this often, but I want to be here for you. I want to support you the best I can. I think it's very caring and compassionate to kind of own it. And
Yeah.
I think something that you can say, like, is I may not know exactly what words to say, but I want to be here for you however I can. And that's something that's great to tell your person that you're supporting because it shows genuine like interest and care.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Also, I think if you're uncomfortable, I think that it's important to consider what's making you uncomfortable. Like, are you uncomfortable because are you too close to the situation? Are you too close to the person? Is it like, what is it that's causing you to feel uncomfortable? So that next time you can address it. Because if this person is coming to you, it means that they trust you, you know?
Yeah. I think it might be hard, like, thinking about that, like, addressing what makes you feel uncomfortable. I think it's a little hard, at least for me as a
Yeah.
recovering people pleaser. I don't really know how to communicate what makes me feel uncomfortable without, like, fearing that things could take, like, a turn for the worse and feeling super anxious.
Mm.
Like, you ever feel that way where, like, you're afraid to, like, tell people how you actually feel because 'cause you're like, what if this messes up the vibe? Now everything's awkward.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, but also at the same time, like, a relationship isn't just, like, one person's giving and one person's taking, you know? It should be give and take on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I guess maybe it's just something I need to practice more, but for sure, like, I know, like, it can be really hard to communicate those things, but it's also really
Definitely.
good to practice because not only does this apply here, but it applies in, like, anything you do in life. You can really, like, you don't have to, like, continue people pleasing just because you are uncomfortable. Like, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to take it if it doesn't make you feel comfortable. But
Period.
yeah, but you also, I think you want to let them know that you appreciate them for opening up because, like we said before, it can be tough and it takes a lot of trust to even tell someone how you really feel or communicate, like, if you're uncomfortable or if you are comfortable.
Yeah, and because it takes so much trust, I think it's important to also talk about, like, how do you help someone feel comforted and connected?
When I think about how you help someone feel comforted and connected, the first few things that come to mind, well, actually, no, the first thing that comes to mind is I would want to let them know that I want the opportunity to be there for them and help them. Like, immediately, just let them know that, and then move on to just kind of like what we said before, just like validating what they're saying or reflecting what they're saying. Just show them that I'm fully present in the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's huge. If you're nearby them, you can maybe give them a hug or touch their hand or their shoulder, letting them know that like you're there and it's okay. Physical touch is not always necessary, and also like take caution with that because like not everyone is into physical touch, and it really just like depends on the person. But if they are like, if it's a friend and like, you're cool with like, giving them a little like side hug or like touching their hand or their shoulder and just being like, "Hey, like, I got you," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But always respect their pace and their boundaries for sure. And speaking of, um, physical touch, that actually goes into love languages. People feel love and express love differently. There's a couple of different love languages. There's 5 actually. Do you wanna go into them?
I really love love languages because it's a great way to deepen a connection with anyone really. It could be like an acquaintance, but basically the five big ones are words of affirmation, which is basically like compliments, being vulnerable, getting that verbal support or encouraging words, or even saying things like, "I'm proud of you. You're doing the best you can," or "I see how hard you're working." Acts of service is the next one, and this one has to be my favorite one because that's how I feel supported, at least. But acts of service looks like doing helpful tasks to show that you care, doing chores, running errands, or even taking care of things for them. And I feel the most supported when people do that without me asking. It just feels so good. But another way people feel supported is by receiving gifts, and it could look like giving things that would be meaningful to that person receiving them. So it could be like their favorite snacks, or a candle, a love letter, or a coffee. Being out and about and seeing something that reminds you of them, and then you get it for them. A big one is quality time, just giving someone your undivided attention, sharing meaningful conversations, sharing experiences, or even being fully present. And this can also look like sitting and being with them, watching something together, doing a craft together, taking a walk. And the last one is physical touch. And physical touch sounds exactly like what it sounds like, just hugs, kisses, holding hands, touching shoulders and hands. And, this helps some people feel really grounded or safe or comforted. And physical touch definitely is something that needs, like, you kind of have to know this person, and you have to know like they're okay with physical touch. Yeah, when people do things for me without me asking, I feel so good. I'm like, yes, do those dishes. Yes, sweep that floor. Like, it feels so good. Yeah. What are your love languages?
I think for me, honestly, we should definitely do the quiz one of these days, but, and I think we should talk more about love languages in our next episode maybe, but I think one of my favorites is quality time. I'm really big on, like, meaningful conversations and, like, just, like, having a good time with people that I love. That really means a lot
Yeah.
to me.
No, yeah. Like, if I could, I don't know how people survive small talk. Literally, I want to barf every single
Yeah.
time I like go through small talk. I'm like, please, please be serious. Like,
Like, people get
me and
worried
you
about
both know.
trauma dumping. Yeah, people
Yes,
get worried about trauma dumping, and I'm like, "Girl, give me the trauma."
right. Like, just spit it out. Like, me and you both know we don't care about what we had for dinner. Like, just tell me what your boyfriend did to you 3 years ago that has you so messed up today. Like, I just
Yes.
want to know. Yeah. But when
Exactly.
But when you are in these conversations, like you're supporting someone, what should you avoid? You know?
I think the top thing to avoid that I see way too much is, toxic positivity, saying things like,
Mhm.
"Oh, just be positive, just look on the bright side, it's all gonna be okay." Like, basically, like, immediately trying to cheer somebody up, it just comes
Mhm.
off as, like, dismissive, and if
No,
there's
yeah.
one thing about me, I just really hate feeling like I'm being dismissed, like, it just makes me feel like my what I'm saying and, like, my problems don't matter. It's like it's like you don't want me to talk about it anymore. It's like, "It's all gonna be okay," like, I don't know, it just kinda
Right.
shuts me off, you know?
One thing that's gonna kill the vibe extremely fast for me is someone being toxically positive. I don't even know if that's the right word, but people who are just like saying, "Oh, it's okay. Be positive. Everything's fine." Like, clearly, if everything's fine, I wouldn't be crying at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Like, please don't silence me with toxic positivity. It's not okay right now, and there's nothing wrong with it not being okay. I it really like blows me when people are like, look on the bright side. Or like, if you're feeling depressed, like, don't be. Just don't be sad. Don't be depressed. Like, come on.
I think yeah, I think that, like I know that people in my own life do that a lot where they're like, "Oh, like, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it." Like, honestly, nothing grinds my gears more when people are like, "Oh, just don't worry about it." Like, what's the point in worrying? Like, you think if I could control my worry and if I could just control my depression that, like, you think I would be feeling this way? No, I can't control it.
When the 988 LGBTQ line closed, I was sharing this with, some family members and they were like, "It's just a job. You'll get a new one." And I'm like, "All right." Oh gosh, it left.
Yeah, no, like, completely takes away from everything you were experiencing.
Right.
Um
Like I'm like, clearly I know I'll get another job or hopefully I'll get another job in this job market, but that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear like, "Oh, I know how hard you worked and like that must be
Yeah, like,
really,
that's not what you were going to them for. You were going to them
right."
to be like, for compassion, to be like, "Hey, like, I hear you, that sucks." Like, you weren't going to them
Right.
to hear like, "Hey, yeah, be more positive."
If I wanted to be positive, I wouldn't have said anything. I would have just sat here and been positive. Like it's gotta be okay. Clearly I wasn't. But
I mean, it's not that
yeah,
simple, you know? People, like, it's like, if I could just sit here and be positive about it, I would, but, like, it's a hard situation, you know?
right. And this goes hand in hand with fixing things too quickly. Like people saying, "Oh, you just need to do this. You just need to do that. You just need to do," like I know what I need to do. Just hug me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like, that's not
Make
the
me feel
point,
better.
like, the point is, like, "Hey, like, I want you to support me. I don't want you to fix my problem
Mhm.
for me necessarily, I just want you to be here for me, I just want you to, like, show me care and show me that, like, I've got
Right.
somebody who still loves me despite everything that I'm going through."
Exactly. When I was like first starting my healing journey, something that my partner did that was really supportive was not try to fix my problems for me. Like he just sat there with me and he was like, "Don't worry, I'm here for you. Anything you need, like just come to me, talk to me." Like he did not rush me. He did not try to push solutions on me. He was just like, "This is your space. I'm right here with you. We're going to figure it out together."
Mhm. That's really beautiful. That's really amazing. I love that, especially the, like, "We'll figure it out together." My partner really says that to me a lot because, I don't know, sometimes I just feel like I'm, like, screwing everything up, and he every single time is like, "No, like, the both of us will figure it out." And it's like, ugh, having
Yes.
support is incredible.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, again, we'll do what together? What do you wanna do? We'll figure it out together. Sounds like a great time.
When it comes to things to avoid, though, something else I think, that comes up a lot in my life at least is, like, comparisons, especially with, like, my family. Like, I hear a lot of,
Yes.
like, "Oh, there's so much to be grateful for," or, like, "Oh, it's not as bad as what, like, XYZ person went through," or, like, "There's always worse," or, like, "What about these people?" It's like, I my it completely dismisses what you're going through, and also, like, it makes me think of this quote of like, regardless of if someone's drowning in 7 feet of water or 7 inches of water, they're still drowning, and, like, no matter what you're going through, it's 100% valid, regardless of what anybody else is going through, because you're feeling how you feel, no matter what, like, that's how you feel, and you deserve to be taken seriously.
Yes, like, when people compare people to other people, I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" Like, I am not the same as that person. I went through my own things, they went through their own things. It's like trying to compare a a sunset to a flower. They're like both beautiful, right? But they're different things. Like they're completely different things. And trying to compare, it's like they have things in common, but that doesn't mean that they're the same
Mhm.
thing. I think people like also expect people to be like certain people, right? Like, "Oh, you should be like this, you should be like that." If I wanted to be like that, I would be like that. But that is not naturally me. That is not for my life. there's no reason to compare people, especially when they're going through so much pain. You don't want to compare people in that
I feel like
state.
that's the last thing you wanna do is, like, make those kinds of comparisons because like, I feel like it always just makes the person just feel worse and shuts them down.
Right. Like, okay, so not only did I go through this traumatic event, I'm not allowed to complain for about it because someone has it worse out there and I need to be grateful for what I have. Like, obviously, I'm grateful that I have all these things, but I'm still hurting. I'm still in pain. I still need to
And that
process
pain is
this.
100% valid. Um, and it's
Right.
hard though to like open up about your pain when you're being dismissed and you're being like judged. People when they say things like, "Oh, you're being dramatic," or "You're being sensitive. Why are you making a big deal out of this?" That's another way to get someone to completely shut down, to get them to completely just like seal up and just like not speak about what they're going through.
This is the theme of my life. As soon as I share how someone made me feel a specific way, oh, you're being too sensitive. You're being dramatic. I don't think I'm being dramatic. I don't think I'm being too sensitive. I think I'm being human and I'm having these feelings and I need to talk to somebody about it because if I don't, then I'm keeping it inside and I'm sure that cannot be good for someone's mental well being.
I hear that a lot too in my life, the being dramatic and being sensitive, and honestly, like, I'm really trying to reclaim the word sensitive because, like, sensitive has a really
Yeah,
negative connotation, and, like, I do feel things deeply. I am a sensitive person, but, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, the negative emotions I do feel pretty deeply, and that sucks sometimes, but it also means that, like, when I feel happy, when I feel love, and, like, when I feel positive emotions, that, like, I also feel
right.
them a lot. So, I feel like being sensitive shouldn't be the insult that it is. It just means that you feel very deeply, and I feel like that can be a very beautiful
Yes,
thing
it's
sometimes.
not a bad thing to feel things deeply, and it's like people try to like silence those feelings, and I think that's where the stigma comes from. Like that's why people's like feel like mental health isn't
Yeah.
important because like they're afraid to feel deeply. They're afraid to go there because they're gonna get silenced or they're gonna get rejected, whatever the case may be. It's like people, I feel like embracing that sensitive side of yourself is a beautiful thing and it needs to happen or you're just going to be
And I feel like that's how healing happens too, is by allowing yourself to be sensitive, by allowing yourself to feel however it is that you feel. That's how
yeah,
healing
I
happens.
think when I was like starting my healing journey, I for such a long time I didn't care. Like I just didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anyone. I just didn't care. That's why I was really callous with everything that I was doing because I just didn't care. And when you start caring again, you start entering that sensitive side of yourself again. It's not only scary, but it feels like you're stepping in to an oven that has been turned off for so long. It's like it feels unfamiliar and it's hard, but it's a beautiful thing. And now it's like I am able to like feel things. There's no blockage. There's no kind of everything's able to flow.
Yes.
But uh I think an important one, a very important thing when you're supporting someone is not giving unsolicited advice. Like, you don't want to do that. That is one of the fastest ways to piss someone off. I feel like, at least me, like, I'd get mad if someone just
Okay.
started giving me
Um,
advice I didn't ask for.
yeah, honestly, unsolicited advice genuinely just, like, makes me upset because I feel just unheard. I feel like you didn't even hear me and, like, you're not even listening to what I'm saying, and you're just, like, moving past everything that I'm trying to explain to you about how I feel and, like, how hard it's been for me, and you're just moving past all of that, and you're just going right to giving me advice, and it might feel good for you, and it might make you feel like you know what you're talking about, but for me, the person going through pain, it just makes me feel bad. It just makes me feel worse. It just
Right.
makes me feel like you didn't listen to me.
Like, I know, like literally, it goes back to I know what I need to do. I just want to feel supported. I want to feel heard. And when people give unsolicited advice too fast, it not only makes someone like feel dismissed, but they're gonna go and seek comfort elsewhere. Like they're gonna be like, "All right, you don't understand, so I'm gonna go somewhere else to like seek comfort, whether it be venting on Reddit or like whatever, ChatGPT."
I think something that's worth noting is that being someone's support doesn't mean being their only support system. So, like, the person that you're trying to be there for, it's wonderful that you wanna be there for them, and you should be there for them, absolutely, but they should have multiple avenues of
Mhm.
support. It's a lot if you're the only person that is there for this person, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot to take on for one person. Everyone should have a system. They should have multiple people that they can rely on.
100, yeah, that honestly real because when you're someone supporting, let's say a friend through a tough time and they go to you for everything, there's a point where things like the boundaries start to blur because it goes from supporting your friend to being like their personal, I want to say assistant, like personal assistant handling all of their like emotional baggage, but it's okay. Like you want to be there for your friend, but you don't want to do all the work for them either. You don't want to like have those boundaries blurred, and then it gets to a point where like you are not
Yeah.
even able to get any kind of support yourself because you're so focused on sorting out their things and then also sorting out yourself. And I think like this is a great example for like let's say like a parent child situation where the parent is having the child support and kind of they're being their therapist and like they're venting to this child, and it just like you're forced to like support your parent, but it's also like where at what point are you able to break away from that, right?
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, like you're just supported you're just supporting your parent and it just becomes too much. And that's why having other people in their support system is important.
Definitely. I think that, like, yeah, putting everything on a single person is gonna be too much for that one person. I think having, like, a good balance of, like, personal and professional supports is really important. And something else, worth talking about also is, when someone is being supported, um, a lot of the times there's guilt of like, "Oh, I I'm inconveniencing, my loved one, they have to be here for me, like, they're doing all of this for me." And I think it's really important to know that, like, friendships are meant to be inconvenient, and, like, you're supposed to stick it out for your friends and your loved ones, like, you're supposed to be there for them. Um, that's, like, part of that connection, it's part of that, like, relationship is, like, being there for one another, um, and you deserve to have that.
But the guilt is so
Mhm.
sorry. But the guilt is so real because when you're the main person supporting everyone and you're finally reaching out for support yourself, it can really feel so bad. Like you feel so bad asking for help because you're seen as like the strong one or you're seen as someone who like is there for others. It's kind of like when the therapist needs support. It's like awkward, like you don't know how to receive love, but like you said, like you deserve
And
support
also, I just wanna
in
say
any capacity.
I also just wanna say that therapists do
Mhm.
get support. They do have their own therapists, and they have their own, like, supervisors and, like, so even therapists have therapists.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. That's cool. Yeah.
So everyone gets support.
But people Yeah, everyone gets support. That I'm glad that everyone gets support because like there's no reason why anyone should go without support, especially if there's so many people in the world, right? There's like billions of people. We It's important to be there for one another and also give each other like kind of grace to sort things out. We're all going through something and there's no need for hostility or dismissiveness or comparisons. It's just
Mhm.
unneeded.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to help somebody, like, those things are just gonna make them not want to seek help from you. It's gonna make them completely closed off and probably shut down.
Exactly. But good thing we have resources. We have a couple different resources to hand out and give. So the first one is one of my favorites actually. Health is an online toolkit you can use for something you're feeling or experiencing. But if you scroll down a bit, there's also an option for being there for a friend. It's a great website. We'll link it. I think we'll create a resource for it, like a resource for the topics we
Yeah, we'll
discussed,
create a
right?
post or something for it. The other resource
Yeah.
that we have is, if you wanna do something nice for a loved one, something unexpected, there's this awesome website where you can send free virtual flowers. They get it in their email, and what's cool about this website is that you can add your own special message. It's called
Mhm.
800florals.com, and we'll also link it in our little resource post thing that we do. But you can send all sorts of stuff like e-cards if you don't want to do flowers, and if you want to spend money on real flowers you can do that, but you don't have to do that. They do have free virtual flowers that you can send, and like, it's like a cute little thing you can do to just kind of show that, like, I was thinking of you.
Yeah. I love to use it, especially like for professional reasons. If a coworker or something is going through a tough time, I like to use this website.
So that's it for today. Thanks for listening to our unfiltered thoughts, and see you guys next time.
Bye.